Hello, I'm Angela Britton, and I thought I'd talk to you today about how I arrive at my imaginary paintings. I'm a narrative artist, so my paintings invariably are about people, but they're also about something that's come out of my imagination. Now, this year, my paintings are all about altered states. So, in other words, people are going from being one thing to being something else. And I thought I'd talk about this particular painting I did this year called Wild Child. And it's all about somebody going from being an introvert to being an extrovert. And apparently, researchers found that if you can actually fake it, in other words, pretend you're an extrovert, you'll be 80% happier. And it's quite likely you'll not only fool other people that you're an extrovert, but you'll fool yourself. So what I thought I would do now is explain the stages I go through in order to get a composition together and a final painting. So here we have the first stage, which is my original first thoughts. Because they're about people, it was a question of how do I group the people and what are they going to do. So here I've got my introvert and here I've got my extrovert. Okay, so far so good. Now I start to think about the individual people and actually how they're going to look. And this is obviously my introvert, so I'm working on her as a scamp. And then I've got my extrovert. I found her more easy to actually think about who she was and what she was like. Perhaps it's just perhaps she was the happier person, and that was as simple as that. So then I started to think about the supporting people. And I started to think about, yes, there could be somebody who's in the background who's playing an instrument. And then I had other thoughts about her positioning and because it's all about how they come together as a composition. And I work on tracing paper like this so that at the end I can start to put a composition together. So here I've arrived at two people and a person in the background. So far so good. I'm starting to think about the tonal values. And then I didn't like that person in the background, so I started to come to the conclusion that perhaps I should have somebody observing at a table here, and then starting to think about where this is set, and introducing the idea of music. Again, thinking about the lines of action and the spaces between and the tonal values. Now, what I've arrived at here is almost what I wanted to do, but the composition to me still isn't right. I didn't like this person going off here because I wanted her more central. So then I revised that person and came back to my original person. And this was how it ended up as a sketch. So I've now got a sketch to size, of the size I'm going to do the painting. My next stage is to think about the colours I'm going to do, so I reduce that particular sketch down to an A4 size and I start to work in crayon. I've got some wonderful Caran d'Ache crayons, and I knew I was going to do blues and purples, so that's how I got to there. And I wanted to share with you now how the painting ended up, because this was the final painting. It changes, each stage changes as I work on it. But that was the final painting called Wild Child.